At our recent visit to USC's Institute for Creative Technologies, we were shown the graphics lab's work on 3D displays. One next-generation technology is the Automultiscopic display, which uses an array of pico-projectors to project a convincing life-size interactive digital human. Paul, tell me about this. It looks like there's someone there.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. So this is a project that we've also been doing in the graphics lab with Andrew Jones and Koki Nagano, who's right here, trying to create what's an automultiscopic projector array. And the reason that this hopefully looks like there's kind of a person there is that you should be getting a 3D image to your two eyes, and it also should kind of update so that as you walk around to different positions, you actually get to see the fellow either from the front or one side or from the other side. And we've done this by, in the big light stage 6, recording this fellow, Pinchas Guter, from about 50 different video cameras. And then we've interpolated that up to about 200 different viewpoints that are being presented from these 200 video projectors that are behind the screen. Now, normally when you have a rear projection screen, you just have one video projector is showing you an image.
It's a flat image gets skewed if you work side to side. It's not stereoscopic, at least not without glasses and polarization.
And actually stereoscopic is a good thing to bring up because that's like an intermediate stage getting to where we are, because you could have two projectors back there, one doing a left eye view and a right eye view, and then if we all wore 3D glasses, then we could all see a 3D-ish image. But it wouldn't really be convincing if you start moving your head around, which you're always doing, because the image wouldn't update. You wouldn't be able to see him from the front here, from the side here, and you wouldn't get that sense of what's called motion parallax, where the image updates according to how your head is moving around in the scene.
So the benefits of this is that anyone can use it. You don't need everyone to be wearing glasses. It just works, and also doesn't need to do any tracking of the viewer.
Those are exactly right. What we're hoping for is that Pinchas Guter is actually someone that we interviewed in our collaboration with the USC Shoah Foundation. And he is, in fact, a survivor of the World War II Holocaust. He grew up in Poland. He was put into a concentration camp as an early teenager, tragically lost his family in that process, but he has gone on to have an incredible life and very generous with his time, going to community centers, Holocaust museums, individual classrooms, and introducing people with, primary testimony of this very important to understand phase of world history. But he's in his 80s right now, and if you go forward 20, 30 years, there's no chance that him or anyone who is physically present for any of that is going to be able to directly tell their stories. So we're working on ways of interviewing them with all of these video cameras, with the ability to project it life-size, kind of like a hologram, in order to give some semblance of the reality and the intimacy you have with actually talking to another person.
Right, as a communication tool, or even just a visualization tool, having it one-to-one and having it so that it's not just on a rectangular screen, it eases the viewer.
Yes.
And adds empathy, there's better connection, even though there's not a direct interactivity.
All of that is what we're really trying to do. And working with the Shoah Foundation, Pinchas Guter and now more than 10 other survivors of the Holocaust have all come to Light Stage 6 and been recorded. And we record them for an entire week. We get, in his case, over 1,200 individual responses. And using voice recognition techniques developed by the ICT's Natural Language Group, led by David Traum, we have so many responses and such a good way of linking questions that are asked to responses that can be given, that there's a really good chance that if you have questions about the history that occurred, he'll have responses that answer your questions.
So interactivity actually is possible.
It actually is possible. It's only because these people have been so generous with their time to tell so much of their story, and that the Shoah Foundation helps figure out, and they have so much experience recording the testimony of the Holocaust survivors, that we can do that. And if we're lucky, I think Koki would be able to queue up a couple of the stories we might be able to see Pinchas move. Yeah?
Yeah, let's go check that out. Okay. Absolutely.
I had one particular friend in one of the concentration camps, and his name was Yaakov, and we helped each other. He was, there were selections in the camps who was to live and who was to die, because if you weren't able to work anymore, they would send you either to gas chambers or to kill you by shooting you in the forest or someplace like that. So there was a selection in the camp where we were. And Jacob, my best friend, we were part of a selection because they were liquidating the camp. When the commander chose people to be killed, he came to look at me. And he looked at me, what I saw for eternity, and I was sure that he was going to take me to be murdered. But he didn't. He took, without looking, my friend, and he sent him to be shot.
So Paul, because this was recorded with all the responses and in the light stage system, is it potentially possible to get this running as a real-time communications tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're currently working with a couple of different Holocaust museums to get it in there into a museum so that people can, casually walk up. Multiple people can have the experience because the viewpoints work for everybody, and they can just have a Q&A session. And there's also various recordings of him doing an overview of his life story as well that you could open with, and then open it up for Q&A. And it's not nearly as wonderful as being able to interact with this great man himself, but at some point it's going to be the absolute best that we can do, and it's way better than expecting people to just go to YouTube and watch some pre-recorded interview.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for sharing this with us.
You're welcome. Yeah, absolutely.